pledge of allegiance to? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comments, do you have any?
Go Lady Honkers.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, move over the consent calendar for February 14th. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I would move we approve the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we have communications, comment, internet, informational items. Clark Kimball.
Where would you like me to stand?
Just stay right where you're at, fine.
My name's Clark Kimball. I'm endeavoring to put in a commercial marijuana grow, recreational, so nobody has any, misconceptions about what I'm trying to do. And the reason I'm before you today is I'm looking to buy a piece of property at the north end of your urban growth boundary. And that piece of property is kitty corner from Andy Park's greenhouse, the White House and the 10 acres behind it. What I'm asking you to do is bring that piece of property into the city of Lakeview so that I could run my operation.
Have you brought this before the planning commission or anything?
No, I've talked to the planning commission, they directed me to you, to town council. That's how I ended up here.
The town planning commission?
Right.
When have,
I haven't.
Well, it was informal, it was, a face-to-face conversation with a young lady over in the county office.
okay, that's the
Okay.
county planning commission, that's not ours, and that's where
Not
we
the
need to
city.
start it here.
Okay, fine,
You
now,
have to go through the planning commission before you come to the city council. Because the city council would be the board that
They-
you would appeal to.
I
the
understand
planning
this, and,
commission.
I did go right in civics in high school, but I keep getting misdirected.
I've told you. a
No,
couple times.
you are not the
Just the two
problem.
governmental agencies.
I understand
That's
that,
part of
and the
it.
jumble between the two of them,
Yeah.
because the ground is currently county, and I'm asking for it to be brought into the city. So I will now go to the city plan, and
Do you know if it is within our urban growth?
It is
boundaries?
within
It
the
is
urban-
within the urban growth, but
It
not
is.
within the town of Lakeview.
correct. So,
And we don't have any extensions that far out from the property you're speaking of. There's quite a bit of county property between.
there is quite a bit, I
It has,
understand
it
that.
has been discussed to look at just the arterial 395
Right.
route out to.
Well, this
perhaps
property
Lakeview
does
Woods.
butt up against
Yeah,
395.
that's, well, and we've looked at, or talked to that in the past, so.
Okay, well, I'll go, sorry.
But I will tell you that in regards to your request for us to annex property.
Correct.
It really takes the request of the person who owns the property, and that person needs to request annexation from the town of Lakeview for the property, because the more annexation requests we have, the easier it is for us to fathom through the request
And we
process
have about two
and
or three
designation.
now.
Yeah, there's already some out that way, so that it's not a lack of.
No, I understand.
It would just, it
It
would
would
add more to
enforce
the.
to it.
Right.
Got it. All right, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
I've got it all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clark.
You bet, thank you. I'm gonna find your car.
Do we have any old business?
You know, we were supposed to have the lady come and talk about the wood stove program.
Hmm.
But she couldn't be here, so she will wait until the next time. She'll be getting
Okay.
quotes.
Pam from Suet or
It'll be Betty.
Betty, okay, Betty, right, okay.
All right, now go to new business, the reader board sponsorship. Ronnie?
Well, Fran just told me that we were on the agenda just about an hour ago.
Oh,
And so I went, yay! So basically what it is, you have the pictures of it. So the current board that's out in front of the fairgrounds now died 4 or 5 months ago. If you notice, it hasn't lit up once in a while, it will do something, it'll flicker, but it doesn't. So to replace a sign like that, I was getting prices and it was almost 17,000. So why not upgrade and be really proud of the sign that we have? And so I went around to a few different companies and they came up with the quote that is on the paperwork. I think it was 29,000 something. And it's not the highest quality, but it's a really good medium to high quality one. The really high quality one was a whole lot more, like over 10,000 something more, and that's just not reasonable. We can't do that. So I would really like, it's not in our budget, and so I've got a $10,000 grant from Collins McDonald for it. I have sponsorship from the Roundup and the President's Museum as a co-sponsorship together. I have requests in here, and I was asked by the Rotary to put in a request, so I'm presenting to them on March something. And I have a request into USB, and hopefully between all of those, they will pay for the sign, which is what I'm really trying to do. The idea behind it is it can be used for so many more things besides just our events. It will have the weather and the temperature on it all the time. It will have, for the sponsors, it will have 24/7 with their names on the post, on the sign itself. And then in downtimes, when nothing's happening, it will be, thank you to our sponsors, for the sign, etc. Kind of scrolling, because I do everything from my computer. It's so nice. Speaking of that part of it, it will save James a whole lot of hours manually changing those signs. And also the letters on the signs, we can't get too many of those anymore, so if you've noticed on some of them, he's had to paint and draw in like the "and" sign, and it's just outdated. It's just an old sign and it needs to be updated, and something that, if we're gonna update, why don't we go good and make it something that we have some pride in? It can be used in emergency situations. It can be used for, icy conditions alert. It can be used for so many different things. It's not just a fairground sign necessarily. So I really came to the town because I think it would be very cool to have the town, to let everybody know on the sign itself that the town supported the sign and supports the fairgrounds. During fair, that town, it brings a whole lot of money into the town. They buy gas, they stay in motels. The judges alone, we pay for all their motel rooms. They eat here, they drink here, it would just be nice. So anyway, that's why I put in the request.
And I'm one of the Fair Board members. Along with that is, Fair Board is also, they're improving the entrance there. You'll see a whole rock entrance, and this all plays together with improving the whole entrance of the Lakeview area as we're trying to upgrade that. We haven't got to the fence part of it yet, but the entrance part, the sign part, we're trying to improve the entry into Lakeview from the west side.
So if you have any questions.
There is a, no, go ahead, no, go ahead.
Okay, so it's too bad Betty's not here right now, because when we talk about, some of the grant monies that we got for, air quality and stuff, my first thought was, so it sounds like another location to have our air quality advisory notice of red, yellow, and green days. Which will be extremely important, because right there on the south side of the road, there are people that are in the county, in their growth boundary as well, so.
Yeah.
It seemed like there should be, if we come short, there might be some possible other funding that we can look at to make this happen. But certainly before too long, I like the project, that's for sure.
It says sponsorship request.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I put in there
What- what-
5,000.
What would a sponsor get, whether it be the town of Lakeview or another sponsor? What would a sponsor
well-
get, and what would that be involved?
Basically, you'd have, your name would be on the sign 24/7. It'll be a
It's a hard sign
hard plaque, yeah.
that's there. It's not on the reader board itself, it's part of the,
How many?
Well,
Because the sign itself
prefer-
is not that large.
No,
Looking
no.
at the individual standing below it, the sign
Right.
is not that large, so.
Well, that's why I'm going for just the limited sponsorship. So it'd be Collins, rodeo, the rodeo and the museum are all on one line. So they're one together. And US and USU guys and Rotary if they can do. And so that's what I'd like to limit it to because it would give better visibility.
So size-wise, you're looking at 4 signs attached to what you've got here, because these are not signs.
Right, to the structure itself,
There's the
down below.
two areas you've got here on the
Right.
drawing, that the fairgrounds gets the top building,
Yeah,
which is
capital.
understandable.
Right.
And then you've got the reader board.
Right.
So
So
are
it'd
you
be
going to
underneath.
sell messages on the reader board?
And it can be messages on the reader
You
board
will
also.
sell messages on, the
No,
government entity will
no,
sell
if we,
messages on
if
the
we
reader board.
sell, no, if we sell, that opens up a whole different thing with ODOT. That's a whole different set of regulations. So for right now, I have the approvals for replacing the existing, and it's actually a little bit smaller than the existing sign now, so ODOT was fine with it. What they did say was that I can only flash at so many second intervals. I mean, really, they have 12 pages of stuff. But if you go into selling advertisement, then it's a whole different ballgame. And so I didn't pursue that part of it at this point.
And clarify on the signs, the corporate sponsor that may have a bigger sign on it, correct? Like
Yes.
if- I don't know if US Bank or one of the others gives 5,000,
See, I
somebody
think
2,000.
that's,
they'll
that's,
be-
that's what I think needs to be drawn out, and that's usually the way you present a sponsorship is you will get this for the price of so much. I don't see either one of those on here, and so that's why I'm asking.
Oh,
So,
well, the sponsorship request was 5,000. There'll be a hard
that's-
plaque
that's
or a
not on
hard.
here. There's
Yeah, I
nothing
didn't
on
see it
here.
either.
Oh, it's not on there?
No, it's not.
No,
It's not on the letter?
no. So,
Okay, so much for my letter writing ability.
Well, at least I put it in there.
Anyway, I'm sorry, it wasn't in there. But it would be, and it would also be in the downtimes, like I said, I want to continually, in between events, I want to do community notices, that kind of stuff, so that something's on there all the time. And in downtimes, it will be thank you to the sponsors, and we're gonna use it for not just the sign sponsors, but thank you to the Roundup sponsors, thank you to,
Well, as you
I don't know,
have,
anything,
as
really,
you have
it's,
today,
you
you
can do
have lady
anything.
humpers on there.
Yep, we have lady
Community
humpers on
events.
there right now.
well, and that's, I will tell you, when we had the reader board requests on our town property, and that's where it gets into it, is we're once again on 395 and
Right.
a state highway, or a federal highway. But I think that you would have to look at the, well, just the exposure that you're getting is good there, but at the same time, are you weighing it out and you say the 4 sponsors, that's what I don't get, is, you know, you've got 4 sponsors. Are those 4 sponsors going to get the equal bill on that?
Collins McDonald will be first because they gave 10.
Okay, but then there was another mention of a bigger
Yeah.
corporate sponsor that's gonna get a bigger picture. So by the time you,
Well, if
you
somebody
minuscule
gave-
the smaller sponsors,
Okay.
as happens in display advertising.
Well, so if somebody
Would be
gave
the
another
result.
10, they would get the same size as Colin McDonald's. If they give 5, you know, we only have so much post room, which is the other reason that I'm trying to limit it to, so that there's still visibility, because it'll be on both sides of the sign. And I want it to be readable, you know, I want it to be noticeable. So that when people drive by it, you know, I always look at sponsors, I always look at the names around. And, you know, to me, I've been surprised at some of the things that have been sponsored by different people. I'm like, oh, wow. So, but I want it to be readable, that's the point.
Okay, you've got your display advertising, which is what you're selling sponsorships to. But it does concern me, and that's what we had to weigh out when we looked at the reader board here, was none of the displays that go on the reader board are for commercial entities. But yet you say you're going to identify commercial entities on the reader board part. And so therefore, that turns into advertising as well, because you're sponsors of
Well,
different
in a thank
events
you,
and what have you.
yeah, in a thank you, not necessarily,
It's still-
you know,
it's still
voted for
exposure.
value for
It's-
sales.
It's an added
But it's-
exposure, and so,
Yeah, but it's a thank you.
okay. So you won't sell any I mean, it'll just be thank you to
Yeah, at this point, there's no advertising
however many
going on.
sponsors, they'll all get equal.
Yes.
You know, I mean, okay,
Yeah.
so that's, because that tallies up the reader board time too.
Yeah, yeah.
I I think that the reader board is a good idea, but I will once again remind our council that I think that the town of Lakeview has given up for a lot of years advertising that is directly funneled to the fairgrounds. And I'm speaking of advertising dollars. I remember a few years ago, I went to the county commissioners and asked them if they controlled any advertising dollars. No, we don't. We have no control of advertising dollars whatsoever. Well, that was not right. There's a lot of money that goes through the town of Lakeview that's funneled to the county fairgrounds and to other entities for lodger's tax and for advertising. So I would hope that you would come as the fairgrounds and as the county and say, you've treated us so well with your lodger's tax funds that we've usurped for years, that we're gonna put your name on there because we're proud we're in the town of Lakeview, the county seat of Lake County. That would be my hope, that we could be included, that we do already participate enough as a town. That would be what I would remind our councilors.
Thank you for your comments. I'll just, if I may, real quick, you know, obviously we've got a few other taxing districts that all, you know, serve the different geographical areas of our county. Obviously, we are much larger than they are as the only large incorporated community, and you know, obviously, those other communities would have little to offer as in funding towards this. I obviously, you know, sit on the council, which we gotta figure out budgetarily how we're gonna fund 5,000 if we honor the request. So that's where I'd lead to ask our manager, where would this funding come from? Frankly, I don't care how the board gets paid for. I don't even care if we have advertisement I mean, we all know it's in Lakeview. You know, probably the north end wishes we'd move the county fair up to there, but that's not gonna happen until the county seat got changed, and that's also not gonna happen anytime soon. I guess it could eventually happen, but regardless, it needs to happen. I think it you know, especially it's one of our entrance points to Lakeview itself. There will be hopefully many things that directly benefit our, you know, the Lakeview community in a whole. There are many events, local events that could be, you know, through the chamber, through the other organizations, the school especially, that could go up on there. Sign-ups, I think of sign-ups for different sporting events for the kids of our community. There are a lot of things that could go on there, public announcements, even for hearings that are happening. I mean, you know, we want public involvement. We want people to know what's going on in our community. I think this is a tremendous idea, and saving time for staff out there is a great idea. You know, simply typing something in is a lot less liability when you get somebody up high trying to change the sign out. So I've said enough. Let's see where it can happen budgetarily, and I'll certainly be ready to talk.
Can I speak a little bit to Mike's comment? Just for clarification, the fairgrounds is its own entity, its own governing board. It is part of the county. The general fund tax dollars are not where it gets its revenue source. The general fund tax dollars do supplement the fairgrounds, but it's its own governing board. The commissioners, one commissioner sits on it as not as commissioner, but as a fair board member. And so the agricultural dollars come in. The fair board creates their own dollars through the gun show and through vendors and all that other stuff. It's not your general fund tax
No,
dollars.
I didn't say that. I said lodger's tax fund.
It's not the general fund
Lodger's,
tax.
it's the lodger's tax fund. That's what I spoke
We
about. Those
do-
are advertising dollars that we've been putting in.
We do get a portion of the lodging tax dollars into it
Definitely.
also.
Yeah,
But,
that's what I spoke about. I wouldn't talk about general obligation.
Okay, well, you mentioned that the commissioners, and so I'm just clarifying that.
But no, but the commissioners do control the lodger's tax funds. They do control, your name is on the.
Yeah, by
Yeah,
the formula.
Your name is the
by
only present
formula-
counselor on there.
Formula
as to
that is set out.
Uh-huh.
The chamber gets a portion, the
Right.
fair board gets a portion on and on by a formula, and that's set.
And that's what I'm talking about. The
And so-
majority of those funds are right here in the town of Lakeview.
So,
That
just
they
a
come from, and that's what I'm saying.
clarification.
We've been for years supplying you through lodger's tax.
Absolutely. The other thing I wanted to say,
Advertising.
the fair is the one thing that brings all of the county together, north, south, middle, town people and the whole works. We worked really hard to make sure that kids within the town have a place to be able to have their animals out here when the solar happens, so that kids in town get to be able to participate out at the fair. A lot of local dollars are spent on the animal, on the fat stock sale and everything. So just want to make sure that everybody here, the board, knows that there's a separation. I'm sitting here today as a fair board member. It's hard to take off that commissioner's hat, but I'm here as a fair board member today with the director, if we're out there asking for the sponsorship for the sign, that it's good for a lot of people. You can go to tourism, you can go to all kinds of different things. Councilman, there's so many different things that sign can attract.
I said I was in support of that, as far as the funding and such. I'm not so sure that the town
Well, I'm putting my
needs, we already
argument
doing
to try
that,
to
because the town does ample already.
Well, and that's why I brought up the air quality thing, because obviously we're trying to make sure we're staying in compliance with EPA standards so that we're not in non-compliance.
For the benefit of both entities.
Right, but ultimately, new business coming in is gonna greatly be most effective on Lakeview itself. The majority of the populations being served is, you know, would be greatly affected by you know, a new designation. So ultimately, I wish, that's why I say I wish Betty was here, because there might be an opportunity for some, you know, we've talked about, you know, putting it on our signs, and I don't know, we probably didn't get any funding to help do that because we already had the sign in place, but, you know, I know when we sat on that committee for air quality, we talked about
PM
other,
advance.
PM advance, 2.5 advance thing. We talked about other locations, even at the school, you know, the flagpole thing, with, you know, the color flag for the day. But also, you know, this is another location which may serve a lot of people who may not ever even drive to the downtown area. And so I think it's, as long as that gets on there, which I think you can easily commit to, because it's gonna be simple, you'll need something scrolling through there constantly. It'll be a really nice benefit.
Did you guys get page 2 of my letter?
Fine.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I messed up, I
Okay.
apologize.
No, it's
Now,
fine.
yeah.
I was just
But
making sure.
It's not on that page anymore.
Sorry,
I know,
it's
it's-
funny that right at this moment, I don't know where we would get the funding, but we will look into that. And how soon are you planning on this?
It's already being built.
Okay.
It kind of stepped out in faith,
Oh,
you know, it's one of those things.
All right, but I'm working on the budget right now, trying to
Okay.
get it all in place. So I will look at those dollars. And then also, have you thought about having it ran by solar at all? As an alternative?
Yeah, in fact, I just talked to Ray, the sign company, to see if, and he thought it was possible if we had a solar connection right there, because it's just one of those, he thought, you know, the whole thing runs on 2 120 little plugs.
Right.
And so he thought that one of those little solar things at the base that was ran up could do it in times of outage or whatever. But he said the cost of running the new LED signs is almost nothing
Okay.
compared to what's out there
Oh,
now.
okay.
But also, it would run, if it was on a solar connection also, it could run when all the power went out. So it could also be used for notices if the power goes out in town, something, or
highways
emergency
closed, or-
notices, or, yeah. So we did talk about the little solar part of it.
Did you talk to ODOT?
For the solar part?
But for sponsorship? Just wondering.
Well, I did kind of talk to them. They said, well, it fits the bill. They weren't real receptive
Okay.
to funding anything.
Well, we won't put this forward.
Well, the bottom line is this is going to happen. We're asking if you guys want to be part of a very good project here. The request is 5,000. That doesn't mean that the fair board wouldn't accept anything less. You know, we accept whatever that's working on the partnership. If you want your name up there and you want to be part of it, this is an opportunity. We all know that everybody's budgets are tight. We understand that. That's the reason why the fair board's going out asking if they had the money. That's the last thing we want to do, is go out and ask for dollars. But we do believe that it's going to be a very positive part for our community here. So I know you guys are going to make a decision today. We understand how the
Yeah.
process works and everything, but take it under consideration if you would, please.
Yeah, I really like the idea of the sign and stuff, but, you know, right now, I don't know where we get the funding.
Yeah, you don't have an open checkbook, we understand that.
Yeah.
But it starts the dialogue.
Okay.
I will be doing some research on that,
Okay,
and
super.
it goes.
Okay.
Could I ask
Okay.
if this is the first, Mrs. Brand, you're probably knowledgeable in this, but is this the first time that the county has ever got off into the advertising business where they're selling advertising?
And
We're not
The
selling
county-
advertising.
Where sponsorships are advertising, that's what they're getting for what you're, so I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Well,
is this the first time the county's ever stepped into that realm of business?
that realm of business, I guess whatever corner you want to sort of paint it into, we do certain kind of
That's
advertising.
corner, I want to paint it, it's
Well,
simple.
I'm not
It's
sure
an
where you're,
advertised
where
sign.
you're going to.
But
That you're paying
Roundup
for as a
gets
sponsor.
sponsorships for
Yeah.
Roundup throughout the whole town.
Well,
And
But-
those
but
are
you- but you- no.
sponsorships. And they plaster whoever gives as a
There's
sponsorship, they
On what? They
advertise it.
plaster it on what?
They have it on signs
all.
throughout the town, on the
Yeah.
paper.
There's corporate sponsorships for
But is
rodeo.
it the government? We don't sell it as the town of Lakeview, we don't sell advertising. And that's what we had to watch on our reader board that we didn't get involved in. And you, as a county entity, through the fairgrounds, a county entity, are starting to get into advertising and the sale of such. You could go out and say,
People are getting their names put on.
McDonald's gave us 10,000 and the town of Lakeview gave us 5,000, but nobody gets advertising because that's what you're selling. This is what you came to us and said, you get this, that's advertising. And I didn't know if the county was in that business.
We're not in business competing with.
But you're entering into it, that's all I'm saying is.
We're entering into a way to
Okay.
try to pay for a sign and have community pride and have their name on that sign.
And I value the gift of the sign.
Yeah, so, I really didn't expect this discussion to go this direction, Mr. Councilman, but made me think of it a little bit different. I don't look at it as going out for advertisement, I'm looking at it for ownership within the community, ownership of a sign that is going to be advertisement for many community projects and different things that go on.
The reader board itself.
Yeah, the
but
reader
you're
board
speaking of
itself.
Well,
the other that's advertising.
to
There's
come
no
back
way
to it, I
do
mean, you know, I don't know if these sponsorships are looking only to sponsor if they get this, what
No,
you're
they're
calling
not.
advertising.
Exposure.
Because again, that's exposure, that might be a better word for it. That's why I say I rather, even if we were to find the money, not to be included in any
That's
of
not
that
the
involvement.
important thing of it.
Because the fact is, it needs to be for what's going on in the community.
That's
It's a reader board, it's informational sharing. It's not about, during that informational sharing, sure, if it's a school event, you gotta pay to get in the school event. I mean, there's gonna be some
Yeah.
indirect advertising that goes on that it really, unless it's illegal, I mean, what's the point of a reader board? But again, if it comes down to these sponsors, I think all of them would say, hey, look, it's better that it's up, and that it's a really nice display than it is about our name
Yeah.
flashing on the screen. every
Well, I
once in a
don't think
while.
Collins McDonald is even thinking if
And
they're
this
gonna
is
be
little,
out there.
little money to
I
them,
mean,
they don't need advertising on a reader board.
I forego those signs, you know, and
Yeah.
just have the reader part or something.
And your other sponsors, US Bank's doing fine without a little bit of advertising, and everybody else is too that you
Well,
mentioned.
if we're
so.
worried about it being advertising, then we'll just put the word thank you above the
Yeah. Thank you,
person's name.
That's right, yeah.
Thank you for, well, that's on many things throughout the county and other places. Thank you for the support.
And so I would, leaving this discussion, I would take
If
that
you're worried
back to
about
the other
us
sponsors.
doing
Just
something
like-
legally, Mike, I guess that's.
Well, I just know that there are other entities in the community that are in the advertising business and they vested their livelihood into that. And I hate to see a governmental entity getting into that. Just as we spoke in our reader board down here, there were requests to sell advertising on our reader board when we took it up here. And that was one thing that, as you found out through ODOT, we're on a major highway.
yeah, well.
And they don't allow that. And we've got a lot of cleaning up that needs to be done by entities such as the fairgrounds and others who put signs in the middle of the easements of 395. And I'm not speaking of just the fairgrounds, but I'm speaking of all the other entities in town that ODOT probably is gonna, come down on at some point.
I mean,
I
that's
have to
why,
have some clarification. I
Yeah.
yeah, just,
I guess if you understood advertising, then you would understand.
On the,
That's,
the approach on 39, I guess I know the location you're talking about.
just as she found out ODOT does not allow advertising on a major thoroughfare like that. But we have people that do contradict that on our streets, on our sidewalks, all of the right-of-ways of our highways, including organizational entities.
Something we all have to check.
And well, they act like I don't know what I, okay.
No, I don't know
The
what.
fairgrounds stick signs out, and we had it in our topic of our work session this last month. The little median that's in the middle of the 140, 395 intersection.
Gun show signs and.
Yeah, those kind
Oh,
of things, that's not
oh,
allowed.
okay.
ODOT brand new service as
We have
go
to
act,
put 'em out.
and you know that's not allowed.
Event signs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
events.
that's not allowed, but it happens, and it's
Yeah.
governmental entities doing it.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
So maybe the big picture is we need to go, ODOT and get that rule changed.
Yeah.
How do you ever advertise for
It's really
anything?
interesting for it to go this far, but you know.
There's an event going on, you push for
Sandwich
it.
signs by the private sector and so on.
Well, I think that's for
That's right.
safety, that's for safety's sake, so if you want to forego safety and have the exposure, or you can do advertising the way that it should be done through the right types of lines that are available.
It's been very educational. We're gonna have a reader board there. We hope you guys.
Yeah, that's
will
great,
be
I'm glad to hear
there.
you are.
And,
I'm glad I don't live on.
We're
on
very
Main Drive.
excited about it.
My kids
We're
couldn't
very
sell
excited
Kool-Aid.
about it.
That's great.
I think it's great.
I know,
I'd
that's what I'm
love,
saying.
love to see something like that out there. I get tired of looking at the old ones.
Yeah.
Especially when the letters are out
We're
gone.
working on a facelift on it, so.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, thank you for
hopefully we'll find
considering
the money.
We'll do the best we can.
You know.
it. Okay, thank you.
Jen, how do you-
We'll do the best we can to get you some money.
Okay, thank you.
I just gotta find
And good luck.
I have faith in you, Roberta.
It's gonna be a great project.
Okay. We'll go to mayor and council updates. About the only thing I have is I did get my tour through the prison out there. That was quite a process to go through that, and very clean. I was very impressed with it, and the educational stuff that they do out there is just amazing. The schooling and everything, so, yeah, there's a lot of that a lot of people can't see from the road. So, yeah, I was really impressed with it. Do you have anything?
I do. I went to Warner Mountain Gun Club last month. I'll be going again tomorrow. They have a meeting. Want to discuss road grading, restroom cleaning. They didn't really get into it too much last month because it was under snow.
Yeah,
So we're going to discuss that again tomorrow.
right, you're talking about the road going,
Into the gun club itself.
right, right. Well, I talked to Jeff about that last year, and at the time it was so hard up there, but when the snow melts off where they can get to it, it's softer.
Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
haven't addressed it any of it yet, but it's on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Norman? Mike? Roberta? You have anything?
Not this time. Well, next time.
Okay. Well, if nobody has anything, then we will adjourn the meeting at 4:34.
The meeting's in Christmas Valley tomorrow, if you'd like to come up to our meeting.
I was planning on your meeting, but not Christmas.
Oh, you're gonna make it tomorrow?
So you're
Christmas
going
Valley, we're doing our nuisance hearing, so
Well,
might be an interesting meeting.
hope you understand